NASA is working toward the goal of returning to the moon in 2024 and eventually establishing a permanent base in the orbit of the moon. The head of the space program gave an exclusive behind-the-scenes look to correspondent Phil Keating in Cape Canaveral.
On the eve of Boeing's historic Starliner crew capsule test flight to the International Space Station,
these are solid rocket boosters that attach to the side.
There is another test flight and mission which NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine is even more excited about. Artemis, aiming to go back to the moon 4 years from now.
This time when we go to the moon, we have a very diverse, highly qualified astronaut corps that includes women. We get to go, in fact, with all of America. The person who's most excited about this is my 11-year-old daughter.
The Space Launch System, or SLS, is the mega rocket that will propel the Orion capsule and up to 4 astronauts into space and out of low Earth orbit, docking with the Gateway Space Station, which is being built and will orbit the moon permanently, and then marrying up with a lunar lander before descending down to the lunar surface.
2, 1, liftoff.
Its development began shortly after the last space shuttle, Atlantis, flew in 2011. At the time, NASA began a different vision and space travel strategy. The SLS and Orion would take astronauts on the 3-day trip to the moon and eventually the 6-month trip to Mars. Meanwhile, private commercial space partners would handle flying astronauts back and forth to the space station. SpaceX successfully did the first test flight of its Crew Dragon capsule in March. The next time it flies, it will haul astronauts back to the station, anticipated for early next year. Boeing's doing the same with its Starliner, taking astronauts in early 2020 as well. Both companies have seen their planned test flights delayed, as has NASA's SLS and Orion, which are years behind schedule and several $1 billion over budget.
Apollo 11.
But Bridenstine says 2024 to the moon is realistic.
The SLS rocket and the Orion crew capsule have made significant improvements in cost and schedule. We're on the 5-yard line. We're about to punch them into the end zone, and so I'm very confident that they're going to be ready to go.
NASA's first test flight, the Artemis 1 mission, is targeted for the year 2021, and it will fly an empty capsule all the way to the moon, around the dark side, and then back to Earth. As for tomorrow morning's big Boeing Starliner mission maiden voyage, launch time is set for 6:36 a.m. Everything's looking at go for launch at this point, 12 hours away, and it will fly no astronauts to the space station, just a space mannequin named Rosie. Brett.
Phil Keating live in a chilly Cape Canaveral. Phil, thanks. Up